Welcome back to the eclectic Blurdy Niche channel. This Nostalgia Hub Literature Edition episode is about the second volume of Wetworks. There will be minor spoilers ahead, you have been warned. The original series artist Will Portasio and new writer Mike Carey revived the series in 2006. It lasted for 15 issues. The story begins in the coup de grace afterward, where Colonel J. Buller approaches Jackson Dane, the leader of the currently defunct Wetworks team, for assistance. USAF Longford, a research facility created to study the bleed, an interdimensional plane that exists between realities that the authority shift travels through, was attacked. All the staff were slaughtered and their bodies were completely drained of blood. This leads him to suspect the culprit is a vampire, and Buller is well aware of Dane's experience with the Night Tribe. Dane agrees to work with him under the conditions that he can pick his team and get special accommodations. Buller decides to test Dane's ability by having his men open fire. Dane stops the first bullet with his symbiote, and second bullet with his telekinetic abilities. And this guarantees these actions guarantee Buller approving Dane's request. The first issue opens with the massacre mentioned in the coup d'etat afterward issue, then transitions to Persephone, who's in the middle of a honey trap. She procures vital corporate information before utterly annihilating her mark. She appears to exhibit the same frenzy as her late cousin, Prince Draken. Dane approaches and offers her a place on his team and a means to overcome her frenzy. Dr. Richard Stiles initially refuses to work on Mother One's body because he sees it as dead. Abdeath convinces him that she isn't truly dead by transporting him to the nexus between the living and dead world. He then begins the intricate process of reviving and repairing her body. Abdeath is an enigmatic journalist entity that grew from a petri dish in a Longford facility, and he's also neither dead or alive. Colonel Buller briefs Dane, Persephone, and Abdeath about the incident and reveals that the blood box, an extinction-level weapon, was stolen during the attack. The meeting is interrupted when the perimeter is breached by an unknown intruder. Red joins the troops to engage the intruder, and she quickly dispatches him with a few quips. The intruder unexpectedly gets back up and replies that steel cannot put him down, only silver. He disarms her and proceeds to arrest her. Her arrest is halted by Dane and the troops, and the werewolf detective Sebastian Ashe is captured. Dane attempts to interrogate him, but he remains tight-lipped. Mother One remains inactive despite being fully restored. Meanwhile, the vampire assailant feeds on an unsuspecting victim who's paragliding. Then two more victims in San Francisco. His killing served two purposes: first, to satisfy his hunger, and second, to serve as bait for his pursuers. He also leaves a trap at the scene. He's working with an unseen accomplice as well. Dane is informed about the most recent killing and heads to San Francisco. While in transit, Red informs Dane that Ashe isn't a normal werewolf because he survived being stabbed in the heart, and the idea that silver is needed to kill a werewolf is a myth made up by humans. Abdeath agrees and states that Ashe stands out because he's in full control of his changes and doesn't suffer from the frenzy. Mother One finally wakes up, updates herself about the recent occurrences, then proceeds to free Ashe. Red confirms the culprit is a vampire, while Abdeath states that he can't ask the victim's souls because they have left the scene. The trap is triggered by a police officer, and the ancient shadowy entity proceeds to attack everyone. Physical attacks are ineffective, so Abdeath confronts and defeats it in the dead world. The team heads to a nightclub, which is the next crime scene, where 40 people were massacred. Red informs Dane that the vampire wasn't feeding this time, and body parts are missing. We learn that the vampire is called Vascar, and the missing body parts are used to assemble a crude machine, and is still missing a few hearts to be operational. Fortunately for the team, Abdeath found a lingering soul that could lead them to the assailant. Vascar next attacks a train to harvest more body parts. Mother One informs Ashe that she knows about the blood box, knows what he is, and the full implications of everything as they make their way to Vascar. The spirit leads the team to a subway station, and en route they're also informed about more killings. Abdeath expresses that he doesn't believe the suspect is a typical vampire and is unique like Ashe. We learn that the crude contraption is called a contador, and Simon Vascar is from a place called Thea Mater. Dane and his team finally arrive to confront Vascar, but Vascar triggers Red's frenzy and she attacks Dane. And Abdeath is not much of a challenge for Vascar and is easily defeated. The blood box thwarts Abdeath's escape. Dane incapacitates Red, but is now at the mercy of Vascar. Mother One and Ashe arrive to prevent him from feeding on Dane. Vascar escapes and Mother One reveals the truth. The research facility was looking into parallel worlds when it unexpectedly grabbed the blood box and drug it into our dimension. Ashe reveals his special tattoo and transports them to his home reality, Thea Mater. Ashe takes them to Bromian Ground prison where his boss awaits them and will give them the full breakdown of what happened. We learn the vampire took dominance in this dimension, allied with many of the other night tribes and preyed on humanity. Werewolves and a few underlying demons allied with humanity. The other night tribes view werewolves as traitors as a result. The contadors, or the Thea Mater's equivalent to an Earth computer. Muertos Angeles was established as a sanctuary city for the remnants of humanity until Simon Vascar infiltrated the city and led to a great catastrophe. Vascar was sentenced to death and placed in the prison as a result. Colonel Buller retrieved Red and Abdeath from the battle site, and we learned the full implication from Red during her medical evaluation, and she expressed a desire to end Vascar in her calm state. In Thea Mater, Dane receives a skeptic, a magical life form that renders him immune to vampire hypnosis. And we get a flashback of Vascar's time in prison and learn that the blood box houses the souls of all executed vampires. It was joined to Earth when the warden told Vascar about his upcoming execution. The blood box contacted Vascar from Earth and informed them that it had chosen him. Vascar manages to escape despite the precautions and measures taken against him. Vascar eventually gains an audience with the king of the vampires, Johannes Savoy, aka Johnny Savoy, who's intrigued by his offer to rule humanity. Vascar offers a vampire nation a way to control their frenzy and remain in control of their beast form. He demonstrates his power by dispatching three of the strongest frenzied vampires with ease. The vampire audience is taken by the offer and volunteer immediately to taint his power with Savoy's blessing. Vascar warns that the strong will be transformed, but the weak will die in the process. The blood box is used to accomplish this. The forensic officers in Thea Mater interrogate the demon that was Vascar's contador's CPU for answers. Ashe's boss offers Dane a silver bullet to put down Vascar for good before they return to Earth. Linda Bethel earned Red's respect by referring her to Abdeath to gain a way to stick it to Vascar. Abdeath and Red search for the blood box in the dead world, where they encounter souls fleeing from a soul devourer. The souls offer to lead them to this threat, but is revealed to be a trap. Back on Earth, Dane and company travel to the old Wetworks base where Dane contacts Dozer, Pilgrim, Jester, and Grail for assistance with defeating Vascar. Johnny Savoy contacts Dane and informs him that he has captured Vascar. This turned out to be a trap, and they're ambushed by 5 enhanced vampires. These vampires, based on Mother One's analysis, have been mutated by Vascar's blood. Vascar returns to the base and attacks Bethel shortly after the legion of winged vampires attack the base. Dane and company arrive while Vascar and Savoy take hostages and flee in a helicopter. Dane follows them in another helicopter, and Vascar takes them to the corresponding Earth location for Bromine Ground. Vascar demands Ashe come to his location alone in exchange for the hostages returning alive. In the dead world, the blood box explains its creation and how it came to life, when 3,000 executed vampire souls flowed together and merged. It expressed its desire for genocide and vengeance. Fortunately for Abdeath and Red, Vascar summoned it before it could deal with them. They continued to pursue Vascar in the dead world. Dane and Mother One engage the vampires on their way to Vascar. Savoy confronts Dane and perishes when Dane uses telekinesis to slam the helicopter on top of them. The original Wetworks team arrives to allow Mother One and Dane to head straight to the villain without interruptions. Vascar plans to use Ashe's sacrifice to break the inmates out of Bromine Ground and set them loose on the Earth. Fortunately, Red intervenes and confronts Vascar. Bethel tends to the wounded Ashe and wounds Vascar with a grenade before Dane finishes him off with the charmed silver bullet. Unfortunately for them, Vascar's death was enough to free the inmates, and the weight of his failure leads Ashe to quit the force and officially joins Dane's group. Wetworks' mission is now to eliminate all the escaped convicts from Thea Mater. Mother One is plagued by nightmares surrounding her death and enters a coma that Dr. Styles cannot wake her from. Abdeath intervenes and discovers that she is missing a piece of her soul, and this will eventually lead to her permanent death. He is fortunately able to revive her by infusing her with a replacement spark, but she needs the missing piece in order to live. They venture into Dead World to retrieve it. While in Dead World, Abdeath is confronted by a large group of souls that are unaware of their present state. He tells them the truth, but is met with anger except for a little girl who thanks him. She is retrieved by what is assumed to be an angel, and they next encounter the Feeders, lost souls who are too attached to the living world and refuse to move on. And they consume the emotion of their living and attempt to eat Dane, but Abdeath saves them. They lose track of Mother One in the process, but find the missing piece of her soul that's been waiting for the rest of her to arrive so they can move on. Dane refuses to let her go, but the piece is retrieved by an angel who takes it to the far country. We learn that Mother One's symbiote is in the dead world, and it attacked her angel and adopted her. Abdeath finds the angel that took her down then dead, but he's fortunately able to revive it. He storms the symbiote stronghold and defeats it to reclaim her soul fragment, ultimately reviving her. We learn that Persephone has a human lover, an author named Dean Finney, the creator of Cassie Blake, a story about vampires trying to restore her monarch to power. Finney based Kathy Blake on Persephone, and Ivana Bayou, Io's current head, believes that Finney's making her soft and dulling her effectiveness. So she sends Agent Pasquale to eliminate Finney. Pasquale chemically induces a heart attack, and this causes Red to wake up from her fantasy. She She retaliates by slaying Pascal and sending his head back to Ivana. We also learn that Persephone plans to restore the Blood Queen's line to the vampire throne. A vampire named Eleusis ascended to the throne after Savoy's death. Red travels to the vampire base to convince the Blood Queen's cousin, Raytheon, to assume the throne. He refuses and brings Arab Death, who introduces her to a child that is a key to their salvation. The Wetworks team in Europe engages the vampire menace, while Dane and Mother One deals with threat on American soil. The vampires' attacks are coordinated and function as a trap for Dane and the military. The normal soldiers are quickly defeated by the vampires, and Prince Cassus, the brother of Queen Elysius, is the mastermind behind this recent attack. Queen Erin is revealed to be the daughter of the Blood Queen and the last of her bloodline, and Raytheon assigned Brett as her protector. The Queen agrees to send troops to assist Dane and Io in defeating the vampire insurgents, and the vampire forces on the verge of wiping out the human resistance in Belgrade. Cassus captures Dane and Mother One and converts Mother One into a vampire. Queen Elysius is angered by her brother's actions and eliminates him, and the newly revived Mother One eliminates her as a threat. Mother One encounters Dane before she's captured and put into cold sleep for study. Romania is turned over to a vampire and becomes the official site of the vampire nation and is recognized by the UN. Queen Arn is officially recognized as queen, and Red is her ambassador. And a major pharmaceutical company has created a synthetic blood substitute for the vampires, and the story ends. And here are my thoughts on Volume 2. Kudos to Carrie for fleshing out the Night Tribes by revealing that most myths about them are untrue. And we witness this for ourselves. We see Red and other vampires go out in the sunlight without any ill effect. And Protastia's art is more refined this time around, and the Persephone design specifically stands out. And her blades are definitely memorable this time around. And the redesign of Mother One is a bit confusing because unlike her initial design, we don't know where her original body ends and cybernetics begin. And Thea Mater is an interesting concept that I wish they fleshed out more. And I also hope that they would have dealt with escapees before the series was cancelled. The rest of the team felt wasted because they didn't feel like a part of the overall story. And they didn't really factor into anything. It would have been interesting if Ashe and Pilgrim interacted and we learned the differences between the werewolves from Earth and Thea Mater through their interaction. And we know that Vascar was stopped for sure, but we don't see what happens to the blood box. That could still be a factor out there. And Dane seemed far too gullible in this run to fall for so many traps in succession. Its conclusion, although rushed, still felt more satisfying than the ending of Volume 1. If you are new to this channel and like what you see, please subscribe, comment, like, and share. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for your continued support. Until next time, stay geeky.